Hello everyone, I am Janusz Kinji Maturan, a VTVT student major in electrical. Now I am the first reporter to discuss the Marxisms now in lesson 4. So let's proceed. Classical Marxism. Classical Marxisms, Marx argues that each significant period in the history is constructed around a particular mode of production. That is the way in which society is organized. For example, slave, feudal, capitalist to produce the necessary of life, food, shelter, etc. In general terms, each mode of production produces. For example, first, a specific way of obtaining the necessaries of life. In sociology, Marx theories are used to study society through economic system. Specifically, Marx sociology looks at the ways economics defines social rules and expectations. There are several fundamental questions that these theories seek to address. First, how is money used to control in the working class? Second is the specific relationships between workers and who control the mode of production. As Marx explains, that the mode of productions of material life continues the social, political, and intellectual life process in general in 1976. This claim is based on certain assumptions about the relationships between base and superstructure. It is on the relationship between base and superstructure that is Marx's accounts of culture rest. The base consists of combinations of the force of productions and relations of productions, and the force of productions is referred to the raw materials, the tools and the technology, the workers and the skills and etc. And lastly, and to non-specific social institutions, including cultural ones. Ethnic or cultural groups are social institutions that include a group of extended family groups related by the descendant commons ancestry. Members of ethnic groups do not need to be. That's all, and thank you.
Louis Pierre Althusser was one of the most influential Marxist philosophers of the 20th century, as he seemed to offer a renewal of Marxist thought as well as to render Marxism philosophically respectable. The claims he advanced in the 1960s about Marxist philosophy were he discussed and debated worldwide due to apparent reversals in his theoretical position to the ill-fated facts of his life and to the historical fortunes of Marxism in the late 20th century. This intense interest in Althusser's reading of Marx did not survive the 1970s, despite the comparative indifference shown to his work as a whole after these events. The theory of ideology Althusser developed within it has been broadly deployed in the social sciences and humanities and has provided a punct Marxist philosophy. In addition, aspects of Althusser project have served as inspiration for analytic Marxism as well as for critical realism and philosophy of language. Though this influence is not always explicit, Althusser's works and that of his students continues to inform the research programs, literary studies, political philosophy, history, economics, and sociology. In addition, his autobiography has been subject to much critical attentions over the last decade. At present, Althusser's philosophy as a whole is undergoing a critical evaluation by scholars who have benefited anthologization of hard-to-find and previously unpublished texts and who have begun to engage with a great mass of writings. These concepts are also being increasingly employed by philosophers, political theorists, and activists who have returned Marxian analysis in order to explain and to envision alternatives to our present socio-economic consumption. So the ideas of Louis Althusser have had an enormous influence on cultural theory and popular culture as whole, suggest Althusser's intervention and their consequent development are enormously formative for the field of cultural studies. Althusser produced three definitions of ideology, two of which have proved particularly fruitful for the students of particular culture. The first definition, which overlaps in some ways with the second, is the claim that ideology, a system within its own logic and rigor of representation, images, myths, ideas, or concepts.
So hello everyone, the topic that I have assigned is about hegemony. Okay, so hegemony is the political, economic, and military predominance of one state over other states. In ancient Greece, hegemony denoted the political, military dominance of hegemonist city-state over other city-states. So the concept of hegemony allows students of popular culture to free themselves from disabling analysis of many of the previous approaches to subject. The popular culture is no longer history stopping imposed culture of political manipulation. The Frankfurt School, where it is a sign of social decline and decay. The culture and civilization tradition, where it is something emerging spontaneously from below. Some versions of culturalism. Instead of these are the other approaches. Hegemony theory allows us to think of popular as a negotiated mix of what is made both from above and below, both commercial and authentic, shifting balance of forces between resistance and incorporation. This can be analyzed in many different configurations: class, gender, generation, ethnicity, race, religion, disability, sexual, etc. From this perspective, popular culture is contradictory mix of competing interests and values, neither middle nor working class, neither racist nor non-racist, neither sexist nor non-sexist, neither homophobic nor homophilic rather, but always a shift balance between the two. What Gramsci calls a compromise equilibrium 2009, the commercially provided culture of structure industry is defined, reshaped, and redirected in strategic acts of select consumption, productive acts of reading and articulation, often in ways not intended or even foreseen by its behavior. So I think that's all about my assigned topic. So let's go to the topic. Thank you.
So first, let us define what is post-Marxism. Post-Marxism is a trend in political philosophy and social theory which deconstructs Karl Marx's writings and Marxism itself by passing orthodox Marxism. The term post-Marxism first appeared in Ernesto Laclau and Chantal Mouffe's theoretical work Hegemony and Social Strategy. Post-Marxism has most often been associated with Laclau and Mouffe's Hegemony and Socialist Strategy in 1985, or defined more broadly as a movement that encompasses various critical thinkers. Laclau and Mouffe are more post-Marxist than they are post-Marxist. They envisage a partnership between Marxism and the new feminism, the protest movements of ethnic, national and sexual minorities, the anti-institutional ecology struggles waged by marginalized layers of the population, the anti-nuclear movement, the typical forms of social struggles in country on the capitalist periphery. To explain what they mean by this course, Laclau and Moff in 2009 give an example of two people building a wall. The first person asks the second to pass him or her a brick. On receiving the brick, the second person adds it to the wall. The totality of this operation consists in a linguistic moment, which is the request for a brick, and non-linguistic moment, which is adding the brick to the wall. This course, according to Laclau and Moff, consists in the totality of the linguistic and non-linguistic. In other words, they use the term discourse to emphasize the fact that every social configuration is meaningful.
Good morning, everyone. I am Mary May Isorovi, a BDBT at FSM 2D. So now I'm here to discuss the summary of Marxism. Laclau and Murphy post-Marxism cultural studies defines culture as the circulation, production, and consumption of meanings. As of 1997 example, culture is not so much a set of things, novels, paintings, comics, TV programs, and the process a set of practices. Primarily, culture is concerned with the production and exchange of meanings. The giving and taking of meaning, aside from this definition, culture are not so much consist of, say, books. Culture are the shifting networks of signification in which, say, books are made to signify as meaning objects. Similarly, as Marx 1976 observed, the man is king only because other men stand in the relation of subjects to him. The relationship of this work, they share a culture in which such relations are meaningful. Outside such culture, this relationship would meaningless. To share a culture, therefore, is interpret the world meaningful and experience it as meaningful in recognized similar ways. Post-Marxist culture studies those two conclusions from this way of thinking about culture. First, although the world existing, all its enabling and constraining materiality outside culture. It is only in culture that the word can be made to mean. Second, because different meanings can be ascribed to the same text, is always a potential site of struggle and negotiation. Culture and power is the primary object of the study in post-Marxist cultural studies. Post-Marxist cultural study is informed by the proposition that people make popular culture from the repertoire of commodities supplied by the culture industries. Making popular culture can be empowering to subordinate and resistant to dominant understanding of the world. Post-Marxist cultural studies insist that to decide their matters requires vigilance and attention to the details of the production, consumption, and distribution of the commodities from which people may or may not make culture. These are only aspects of the context for production in use, and it is ultimately in production in use that questions of meaning, pleasure, ideological effect, incorporation, or resistance can be decided. And that's all for now. Thank you for watching.